Hi, my name is Brad. I'm from Forest River. Today we'll be working on a Dynamax to show you how to remove the slim rack slide out mechanism motors in case the room becomes inoperative during your camping trip or at any other time. Before we get started, it's important that you make sure that the unit is leveled and stabilized before this procedure. So the first thing we need to do is all slim rack motors are at the top of the slide out columns, and there's two of them, one at the front and one at the rear. What we need to do is pull this flap back, and if you look inside of here, there is a little set screw that will hold this bracket and this motor to the block, and we need to remove that or loosen that about one full turn. Next, we're going to be using a little pocket screwdriver, and we're going to try and wedge this between the bracket and the block to try and pry this motor up out of its seat. Next, we'll use the larger screwdriver, get it up and out of the hole in the block so that the room can move freely back and forth. Right now I'm trying to jog this thing to get it back into place, get the motor back into its position. It's mostly there, but it's not all the way down. This is something that I'll go over on the inside. Once the motors have been removed from the outside and we've pushed the room in manually, we can take the fascia off and the nightstand and the corner block and the subfascia in order to gain access to the flange so that we can either place the motor back in its position for travel or replace it if one is available. And in order to remove the subfascia, after removing the fascia, we need to take the screws loose from the track feet. Those are holding this subfascia on, and you can't remove it without taking those screws out. There's two different size screws that they use for the fascia and for the corner blocks. And as you can see, they're different lengths. If you use the long ones, obviously it'll come out the front. Next, we'll be removing the screws that secure the subfascia to the slide wall. The remaining screws need to be removed. They're about 4 inches long, and they go through the front of the subfascia into the wall. Next, you'll need to remove the screws that are securing the front of the subfascia to the wall. Next, we'll be removing the screws that secure the flange to the wall and the screws that secure the flange to the column. Keep in mind, when removing this flange, there will almost always be a screw at the very top of this bulb seal that secures it to the column. It will need to be removed or the flange will not come off. With all the screws removed for this flange, securing to the wall and to the column, we can remove the flange and access the motor. Once we have the flange removed from the column, we can now reach back and pop this motor out of its position. Once the motor is out of its cradle, you can move it to the side, and you'll have to turn it slightly to pull it out of its position. Taking the motor out might prove to be a little bit difficult, but sitting in its position, if you just turn it a little bit, raise it up and pull it out, it should come out pretty easily. Once the motor is removed, you can either install a new one while you have it all open, or you can reinsert the motor to lock this room in place for travel to the service center to have it repaired. I hope this information was useful for you. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to Dynamax and they will help you with any problems that you might have, or you can go online to forestriverinc.com.